basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Benskop upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and pon the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the truth. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the truth. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop.
Yeah, my name is Jacinti Caldata from CC Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my X next to the cup, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Specific fields, there will be a booth designated to that here tonight. So persons who are unemployed and looking to become employed, they can come down here to the Providence National.
Yeah, this is the elite team. The root team. Strong team.
Number one.
PPP team. Yeah. Yeah, Sam, PPP all the way. Yeah, one Guyana.
Are you confident that you're going to deliver credible and fair elections?
Of course. Only one way I know, and that is the correct way.
Hi.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100. So this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Good evening and welcome to Straight Up. It's 11 minutes after 9 o'clock. We're running a bit late this evening, so we want to apologize for that. Also, tonight is a night of apologizing. We want to apologize for skulking, as they would say in Guyana. Skulking. How many of you remember that term, skulk? Who skulk from school, right? So we were not on last evening, but we're on this evening. Nevertheless, we are going to rock and roll until 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock this evening. Let me just say thank you all for sharing the link. And for those of you who are joining us, wherever you are, good evening and welcome to Straight Up. I noticed some people just waiting to see whether this is a rebroadcast. No, it's not a rebroadcast. It's 12 minutes after 9 o'clock. Today just happens to be Tuesday. I'm just kidding. We know it's Wednesday, the 27th of September. Good evening to all of you. Share the link, even if with friends, your PPP friends whose bumps usually raise. And some people have been asking me, what do I mean by bumps raise, when bumps raise? Some of you in the audience are wise enough to understand and to know exactly when I say the bumps raise. The bumps raise. One of the things that actually I smile because it's becoming comical now that every single thing for a PPP person has to do with boredom. It's as though for them, Burnham was such a bad guy. And these are folks who have benefited far more ever than they could possibly do under a corrupt, racist PPP regime. They have benefited. Some of them went to UG, like one particular guy. They just, no matter how much they have gone to school, whether day school, night school, it is the one, it's not a one guy, it's a one track mentality. Any conversation, political nature, has to be about Burnham. It's like Burnham tickle these guys. Tickle. Sorry. Yeah. It's like Burnham tickle these guys when they're sleeping. You know, and especially when they drink their rum and they're sleeping, and Burnham just take a feather and tickle them and they jump out of their sleep. Oh, Burnham. Every single thing, Burnham. Burnham died sometime in August 6th, I believe, 1985. A lot of these guys went to school, free education under Burnham, free everything. But every single thing for them are Burnham. Burnham this, Burnham that. You cannot have a proper discussion with some of these. I want to use the term, but I'm on radio. Some of these pacus, Burnham this, Burnham that, Burnham this. And they tell themselves that they're so independent, but they're racist. One guy, I just got off a discussion thing with him. It's a waste of time, draining my energy. I'd rather use my energy towards a cooperative. I just rather, these guys are ridiculous. One guy spent 25 years at the University of Guyana. 25 years before he finally got his LLB. Probably cheated on his test. I want to argue with me. With me? I'm sorry. I'm just trying not to be too full of myself. Good evening to all of you. But these guys are ridiculous. One particular guy talking, dead PPP, dead PPP, dead PPP. You can't be more dead than these guys who pretend that they're what is it? They're independent. They are independent. Independent, my we're at radio, so I can't say what I want to say. Wait. You know, every time there's a trench grapple, we have an alarm for trench grapple. We got a trench grapple right away. You guys recognize that trench grapple? Deal with that trench grapple in the trench, man. Y'all go in the trench and deal with that trench grapple right away. But do not lose focus. That is what these trench grapples are all about. They hop on these shows to distract people. Then again, nothing good to say. Then I say nothing good. What am I going to say? Them not know. Sorry about that. We're actually on radio. I should be more proper. Good evening to all of you, including the trench grapple. I don't want to call all of your names, because if I call a few names and I left out another, then everybody gets vexed. Some bumps raised, right? All right. So, hey, what is it that we're going to talk about? Because before we get into that, one Paku Nimakaram, one Katahar is arguing with me. Politics of all person, right? Sorry. Little full of myself. And so this person, right off the bat, Burnham this, Burnham that, and PNC rigged elections and so forth. And I simply asked a question, what rigged elections? All right. There were allegations that PNC and PNC did a little thing and blah, blah. Allegations, mind you. It has never been proven in court. What these PPP Pakus, these PPP, like that one who went to UG for 25 years. Imagine this guy, he's got to be really special, has gone to a university 25 successive years. And after that, 25 years, he finally got the LLB. LLB. Finally, 25 years. You guys think I'm kidding? I don't want to call Rajendra's name. I don't want to call the guy's name. 25 years. And there's nothing he can do with his LLB. You guys have a different interpretation for LLB. And so PNC rigged, they're saying that PNC rigged elections. I said the PPP has rigged more elections in Guyana than you guys can ever imagine. But they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. It's like, one track mind, Brenda Casey, one track mind, Barbara Barrington and Buntu King and all of you guys, one track mind. By the way, somebody last Friday, I believe, said that sometimes, and the person, of course, I think it was Bantu King or one of them said at Ben Shop, you bums was raised sometimes, you know. Good evening to all of you guys. Hey, you know, sometimes I look at your comments, some of you guys and your comments, and I smile because I know you guys mean well, and I know a good sense of humor when I read one. And so I took that as a good sense of humor. I believe it was Rastaman or one. And Rastaman, you misbehaved last week. Rhonda Lane, how are you doing? All right. Hey, no, Rhonda Lane is saying that he's probably a lecturer. No, he's not a lecturer. He's one of those political laborer, I would put it, a political dunce. All right, so what you guys want us to discuss? First of all, let me head to North Korea. This is no surprise. Absolutely no surprise, guys. The soldier who ran into North Korea, Kim Jong-un doesn't want him. Ajima, 안녕하세요, right? If Kim Jong-un, you guys believe Kim Jong-un, ajima, 안녕하세요, right? Yes, thanks. Sometimes I show off. But if Kim Jong-un is watching this is no surprise at all, my friends. All of you who are watching. Just imagine a black man, a brother, right? An African brother in North Korea. In North Korea for 15 years, 20 years. Kim Jong-un doesn't want this black guy there because something may happen and you may see some mixed kids running around North Korea. So for Kim Jong-un, it's basically, hey, let this guy go because we don't want no little mixed black and North Korean kids running around North Korea. So get him out of the country quickly. So when I saw this in the news, American soldier who crossed into North Korea is back in U.S. custody. Pray for this brother. He needs some help, and whatever help that is, just pray for him. As we move on here this evening, what else can we talk about? Look at this Judas. Typical. Some of them jump into AFC like that guy who spent 25 years at the University of Guyana. 25 years. Finally got the LLB. God in heaven knows how he passed it. You could read from these guys and their mindset is like these guys went to school. Anyways, this other class who happens to be a liar, Charan Das Prasad, he is summoned by legal practitioners committee. In other words, he misbehaved. Something dirty he must have done. And so he has to go in front of these guys here. And if he doesn't appear, then they will make a decision. This guy he's like back in the days, you call somebody like a crackhead or a junkie. I feel uncomfortable because it's not me to call people crackhead and junkie. But this guy is worse than those sort of folks. Worse than them. We have Wayne Caesar in with us right off the bat. Wayne Caesar is with us. We're going to get to Wayne shortly. We'll get to him shortly. However, Charan Das Prasad, look at the type of people who are in the PPP. It doesn't matter about race. It doesn't matter ethnicity. It doesn't matter. But look at the caliber of people. Low life, low class, Chamar, Katahar, Korhi. I want you guys to see my facial expression. Hi, Wayne. Good evening. How are you, sir?
Good evening, Mark. I'm doing fine. Good evening to all our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, good to see you, Wayne. Now, the caliber of people in the PPP, hierarchy, Katahar, Korhi, Chamar, Lungira, you name it, they are there. All of them are there. And Charan Das Prasad is no different. He is the lowest of, he is closer to Jack Dew and all of them. Very, very low class. Chamar, he's a Katahar, he's a Korhi, he's a Tereka Board, Nanika Chodor, you know the rest, those of you who understand that particular part. And so he has to go in front of the practitioners committee. I hope they suspend him or get rid of his license. He's a waste of time. He cannot argue cases at all. Well, that goes to a lot of lawyers in Guyana, I'm not knocking them. There's some brilliant lawyers there, but some of them can't argue cases. You go in front of the case. I have attended court on so many occasions, Mr. Caesar and others, and I was sick and tired of hearing lawyers saying to the magistrates or judges, most humbly accept your worship. They will accept a date, a long, long date for their clients, and they do not argue in a sensible manner, in an effective manner, in a competent manner. They just don't. But just imagine you get thief a bicycle in Plaisance. I'm not saying that you still, or you ever stole bicycle, Mr. Caesar. And you hire somebody like a Charandas to go and defend you. These guys are crosses, man. Would you hire Charandas to defend you? Were you a bicycle thief like Rohi? I'm not saying that you are. You come from a decent family, but things do happen.
Mark, listen, over the last few years, we've watched a few lawyers, really, really embarrass themselves and their character. And listen, what would have happened with Charandas in India? The way he treated that woman, that alone should have had his license to practice suspended. You cannot have people like, with this type of character posing as a lawyer. And based on what you say, he's not even a good lawyer. I've never heard anything about Charandas Prasad as a lawyer. So that alone tells the tale. But the PPP, Mark, they tend to go not to the top of the barrel, but they seem to always go and dig at the bottom and bring out the worst and present the worst to the Guyanese people. So it doesn't surprise me one bit. And, they need to suspend his license, man.
They need to disbar him. These guys. Look, I know a couple of lawyers, I'm not here to call names, who couldn't write their law exams and these things, and they had other people write it for them. But yet some of them are practicing there in Guyana. It's a long story, man, but I see Dolari. I see Dolari, and right away this nice song came to mind. Dolari Betty Wabi go do with him, right? Charandas is a chamar kebai. Why you go do with him, right? He's a chamar kebai. So Dolari is saying here, and I agree with Dolari Betty, say, now you see why depression affects some people more than others, and they drink rum, regurgitate the same thing over and over and hate others, talk about Bornham, they beat their spouse. They beat their spouses. Dolari is up to something and become suicidal. They beat their spouses. They talk about Bornham. They drink rum and they beat their spouses. And they, lots of them do that. Lots of them do that, Mr. Caesar. Lots of them do that. But that's for another day. But Dolari, you're onto something. I don't know why every time I say something about you, Brenda Case, you got to jump and defend like Brenda wants to choke me and kill me for you, man. Right? Thank you, Brenda. Wayne can afford more than a bike. Every day I know. Wayne is y'all favorite now. I'm at the back of the seat. I put my hands up. Wayne is y'all favorite now. But Wayne, you mentioned, sir, and it's a good thing that folks are supporting you, mind you. I'm not that type. But listen to this, Mr. Caesar and others. You mentioned it. This is Charandas Prasad in India.
Are you any better?
No.
You're throwing out a helpless dog?
What helpless dog? I don't need a dog in my yard, all right? Okay. You want a dog, take it, put it between your legs.
You little bastard.
No, you probably want the dog to fuck you. That's what you want. I don't care. I don't care who you are.
I don't care who the hell you are.
Fuck you.
Yeah, dekha.
Now listen to me.
You're drunk.
Don't let any woman come in my yard.
You're bloody drunk.
Hello. You like the camera?
You don't understand English. Speak in English.
Woman, rightfully so, is calling him a dunce. He said, "You are a dunce. You're a bloody dunce." These are human beings. Is Charandas really a human being? Enough of him. But unless you want another minute with that crass, that chamar, I hope they revoke his license.
Mark, it was just sad to hear how he would have spoken to that woman, you know, and what the dog shouldn't do to her and all this type of stuff. These guys are just despicable, man. The PPP is just horrendous. And they're talking about reposting this guy. These guys gotta mark, these guys are crazy, man. Listen, if the people of Guyana don't stand up and vote these people out come 2025 or before that, man, I'm telling you, Guyana is gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Over to you, Mark.
Yeah, well, that's for your show. And when is it? Saturday, 5 o'clock. Over to you. Wayne Caesar
Yes,
has his
sir.
own show, guys. You
Yes.
got to tune in. The thing is that though, he's looking horrible in a beat up boxer shorts with 3 men in his house that's being paid for by taxpayers of Guyana. In his house, probably a brothel in India. Acting there, he is the High Commissioner from Guyana to India. He has 3 men in his house, turning to a woman and say to the guard to say, no women allowed in there. Now we understand why. We know why, but let's move on. We know why. We know why. The tendency of some of these guys, lots of them in the PPP, we know why. So let's move on now. We get some other things that I want us to talk about. We're not talking about Senator Menendez, who has been indicted, and we see him shaking Irfan Ali's hands. Irfan Ali himself, 19 fraud charges. Birds of a feather, Mr. Caesar. Birds of a feather. Sitting
Flock
right
together,
there.
flock together.
Birds of a feather flock together. Now, look. Let me see if people know who this guy is. Who is this guy? Let me see if the people know who this guy is. Recognize the guy. Give him any name you guys want to give him. But let me see if this is the guy. I'm going to sit back for a minute, Wayne, and we're going to see if people recognize this guy, who he is. Let me see if you guys recognize. From Charandas to, sorry. Somebody says this Van West Charles. Somebody says this my friend. Whoever Chanel Wills is. Somebody said Van West. Keon Rose said GWI. Garcia, yeah. Wesley Ward, Bornum Rastaman said Bornum son-in-law. Sandra Haynes said Van West Charles.
And John had an interesting comment there.
What's John's comment? Where is it? Which John? There's a John?
And John,
and John said, oh, slave bottom house crap. Oh. Let me see. Somebody said Van West Charles. Somebody said a clone. Somebody said, let's see what.
Shondell Griffith, Van West Cross.
You see, whoever Bundary Crab is, we've got to be objective in this here, and the silly comments, very impatient with some of these silly comments. During the pandemic period, nobody was saying much. The PPP folks, the coalition people were very, very quiet. They weren't saying much. And this same guy was very, very vocal with regards to the pandemic issue. And so let me just set the record straight with you, Bundary Crab. All right? And let me see. I've been nice to a lot of people on this show, Bundary. I'm even nice to you. Even though I don't know you, I'm even nice to you as well. So Naomi Drucker or Ducker, whatever her name is say, Mark boy, number one. I don't know. Don't come here and spread unnecessary propaganda without fact checking yourself. And it's something that I'm not going to tolerate at all. At no point in time did I ever endorse Van West Charles for leadership. So desist, Drucker, from this sort of propaganda nonsense. I have known Van West over the years. That's a fact. Van West, of course, they wanted an endorsement during the course when they had no such endorsement people were given equal time on this show, including Aubrey Norton. Aubrey Norton was given his own time, his own show, and every single thing. Harmon also, but it so happened that Van West took up. Van West, tall boss, we refrain from cursing. We don't curse on this program at all. It's not that we are Christian, but we try to maintain a certain thing. But I know how you guys feel. But one of the things, don't come on here and spread propaganda, especially propaganda about me. I've never endorsed Van West Charles. And even if I endorsed anybody, I'm man enough to say that this is what I have done. And I take umbrage to those things, mind you. Mr. Caesar, how do you feel now that you've heard by now that Van West Charles has jumped ship? And that's my interpretation, jump ship. Your take, Mr. Caesar.
Listen, Mark, as far as, selecting him to be the Guyana ambassador to Venezuela, listen, the issue with Venezuela is not a PPP issue, is not a APNU issue per se. Holistically, it's a Guyana issue. So when we look at it from that front, I would agree that he is probably the best candidate outside of Carl Greenwich to pick up that portfolio. And then he has a vast amount of experience from being in Cuba and from being a part of the WHO, the World Health Organization. So, I agree with that part. Now, what I don't agree with is what Dr. Richard Van West Charles would have done to the PNC party, the party that his father-in-law would have formed. It just shows that a lot of these leaders, they show you one face, Mark, but then they have these personal ulterior motives. And this is the perfect example of that. I feel like if Dr. Richard Van West Charles cannot show up at Congress Place again, he is no longer a part of the PNC. He has jumped ship. When you're going to go and you're going to get on a stage and you're going to have a dance off with Irfan Alita African music, that's a great disrespect to Afro-Guyanese across Guyana, because the PPPC does not care about Afro-Guyanese and other Guyanese who does not support their attempt to become make Guyana a one-party state. So, listen, Dr. Charles got to know where he goes from here. I know he dibbles and dabbles in a lot of business, and that's Mark. That's one of the reasons I don't like to have businessmen as politicians and holding down political portfolios, because they always tend to be some sort of collusion, or they always have a business ulterior motive. So this doesn't surprise me one bit, but what I want Dr. Charles to understand is that this is going to be short-lived, because come 2025, the people of Guyana will be taking back Guyana, and he will not be considered for anything and should not be considered for anything. Over to you, Mark.
It seems as though Dr. Van West Charles has a history of jumping ship. And these guys always, and this is my opinion about Dr. Richard Van West Charles, and I appreciate the fact that he was able to update us during the COVID-19 pandemic when many folks were quiet, extremely quiet. He understood then the corruption and the corrupt nature of the PPPC. After they were installed, Richard Van West Charles decided that, they charged him fuel smuggling or something like that. Maybe not, but something to do with some alleged illegality and so on. So he was charged and so forth. And what the PPP does, they go after these individuals who are in some sort of problems or so forth and negotiate with them in order for the charges to be dropped and so forth. Richard Van West Charles has calculated his age. He is 70-something now, I believe. He is looking at what else is there to gain, what else is there to lose. The people of the PNC wouldn't vote him in as the leader because he is not as charismatic. They're looking for charismatic leaders. They're looking for fighters. They're not looking for individuals who will dabble with the enemies and sell the people out. In this case, it is my opinion that Dr. Richard Van Charles sold the opposition people out, sold the the PNC supporters out for 20 pieces of silver. Now, if Dr. Richard Van Charles wants to get upset, so be it. He has been someone that I've known over the years, and nothing surprises me in politics any longer. Absolutely nothing. So when and he was seen with Irfan Ali, and he addressed Irfan Ali as my friend, and he's my friend. These guys come with all manner of excuses, thinking that the ordinary people are silly people, are dotish people. And then they come and they say, oh, patriotic, and they think about country. In this particular situation, Dr. Richard Van Charles is not thinking about country. He is not thinking about party. He doesn't care about the PNC. He doesn't care about the people of the PNC. He doesn't care about anybody other than Richard Van Charles right now. So Richard Van Charles is looking after Richard Van Charles. I don't know what good he can bring to what's happening in Venezuela. He doesn't have the experience in that area. He cannot negotiate properly. And being in Cuba for a couple of years and then returning as a vet doesn't say much. Doesn't say much. The PPP knows exactly what they have done. This guy fell for the trap, and unfortunately, he is now seen as damaged goods. I don't know how he can ever recover from this, but he is damaged goods. Damaged goods. Richard Van Charles. There are many more like Richard Van Charles in the woods, you know. You guys do not be fooled. There are many more like Richard Van Charles. But you got to give Richard credit for coming out of his hole. Coming out of his hole. I don't know what would have happened. You know, these guys get positions and they sell the people out. And he's still someone that I know. I will consider him a friend, yes, but I'll question that friendship now. Maybe I'll have to strike him off of that friendship list. Not because of his different political views, but because, in my opinion, he sold us out. He just sold us out completely, sold us out. He left the PNC as a member and he went to the AFC. He left the AFC and went back to the PNC and attempted to become the leader of the PNC. And then now, basically, regardless of what we say, he walked away again from the PNC. Burnham probably might be saying right now in his grave, Ben Shap should have been my son-in-law instead of Van Charles. It's a dotish move. Over to you, Mr. C. Sorry about that. It's a dotish move.
You know, Mark, and you're correct. When I look at Dr. Richard Van Charles and I look at his body of work, especially as the Minister of Health in Guyana, he was probably the very best Minister of Health, or that Guyana have ever had. And of late, his work with GWI, he did an excellent job there. And of course, with the WHO and his stint.
I wouldn't.
But,
I wouldn't say that he was the best or one of. During the coalition years in office, and sorry to cut you. During the coalition years in office, we got to give credit to the coalition and the Minister of Health, Valda Lawrence. Because what Valda and the coalition were able to do was to resuscitate the health industry, the health sector, that the PPP destroyed, completely destroyed. And we saw under the coalition, lots of health centers, hospitals were being repaired, proper drugs were being sent to the hospitals and so forth. Respectability was actually restored as a result of the coalition. In Van West Charles' time, of course, we had lots of Cuban doctors and so forth, and health centers built by Burnham and so forth, and directed by very, very intelligent men. It so happened that his father-in-law decided to put him as Minister of Health, and he sat there as Minister of Health. But I saw, and I'm not trying to downgrade Van West Charles, but I would give Walter Lawrence more props and the coalition than I would give Van West Charles. But back to you, sir. Sorry about that.
No, and listen, Mark, I agree with your counter there. I thought that Walter Lawrence was very, very good, especially from an administrative perspective in how she run the industry and everything. But I feel like if he was more of an expert, being more in touch with health relations than from a health relations perspective. But they were both good, but I think he have totally, damaged all his credibility by moving to this installed government and aligning himself with people the likes of Irfan Ali and Barry Jagdeo, amongst others, one with 9 fraud charges.
His friends,
yes, that he now calls his friends. I mean, listen, this guy was put in place to be a special advisor to the leader of the opposition, Mr. Aubrey Compton Norton. But sometimes, Mark, it probably didn't get off to the start that he expected it to get off to. But sometimes patience can be a virtue, and to just run and jump ship just like that really paints a picture of what this guy really stood for, and listen, he's finished as a politician. This is it.
Yeah, he doesn't care. The funny thing is, I would be surprised if the Venezuelan government confirms him, because right now they haven't. They have submitted his name for a while now. I'd be surprised if they confirm him. So he has a long wait. But he's just waiting to go to Caracas so that he can drive around, with his diplomatic plates and so forth. He likes that sort of lifestyle, He loves those sort of lifestyle.
Well, Mark, if they look at it from your perspective, when it comes down to experience in that area, they would gladly accept the nominee, accept him, because it gives them an advantage.
Let's look at what this comment here coming from, not Francine Cruz. I'm talking about good constructive comments, not those who distract with silliness. And so, sorry. So this person here, Valdine Kendall. Hi, Miss Kendall. Valdine Kendall is saying here, don't judge Van West. PNC leadership was unkind to him. Miss Kendall, I'm not sure if you're Kendall from Eversham Epsom, but good to see you. Of course, the people have to judge Van West Charles. Whether the PNC leadership unkind to anybody or not, that's no justifiable reason. There's no justification for selling out. This is a full-out sellout. And Mr. or Dr. Richard Van West Charles behaved like a flatfoot, worse than a flatfoot hustler. So don't blame the PNC leadership for this. It was probably always in his mind. Dr. Richard Van West Charles is worse than a flatfoot hustler. My opinion. Over to you, Wayne.
But Mark, you have to remember this. Dr. Richard Van West Charles was always negotiating with the PPPC. He wanted Aubrey Norton to meet with Irfan Ali with no conditions. And that was one of the things that really brought bitterness to the relationship. Because Mr. Norton refused, and rightfully so. I would have done the same thing. And I was talking to someone today and I say, you know what? I'm so thankful that Mr. Norton would have been the one that would have won at the time of election, the leader, to be the leader of the opposition. Why I say this? Because looking at the posture of Dr. Richard Van West-Charles, he would have led all of us, all the Guyanese people, to slaughter. You know,
some of them right now so quiet, inactive, and all manner of things. These days, you don't know who is who. I'm telling you guys straight up. These days, you don't know who is who, but we're glad some of these snakes are now coming out. Some of these political snakes are now coming out. You sit, you talk with them, but you don't know that they're negotiating with the devils and the demons. Those very people who are persecuting opposition supporters in Guyana and so forth. You know, this is what is called dangerous. Anyways, enough of Dr. Richard Van West-Charles. But before we say enough of him, let's listen to this tape, please, Mr. Caesar.
As we go forward in Guyana, with all of our newfound resources, with a president such as Dr. Ali, who is my friend, committed to our development. As we go forward in Guyana, with all of our newfound resources, with a president such as Dr. Ali, who is my friend,
Let me say this. Let me say this to you, Mr. Caesar. When I heard that tape, and I had it queued up for a while, and that part of that speech by Richard, that part, I realized that Richard Van West-Charles is gone with the wind. Gone with the wind. So said, so done. Gone with the wind. He sold all of us out. All of us, every single one of us, including some who were part of his campaign, and some of them know themselves, who wanted that final endorsement. And I said, no, I can't do that. Van West is not really, I'm not feeling him. I'm not saying this because it's like, it's the truth, guys. Some of them know it is the truth. It is the truth. But anyways, he's gone, and that's it. Look out for more. There are more Van West-Charles. There are more Charandas within the coalition. There are more of them. They're not there for you, the people. They know what they're about. There's some of them are a bunch of sellouts. You sit, you talk with them, and they go back and they carry your name because they want a sweetheart business deal and these sort of things. Enough of Van West-Charles. Bye, Van West-Charles. Enjoy Venezuela if you ever get to go, because if it's one thing I would agree with the Venezuelan government is don't confirm him. Don't confirm him. Speaking of Venezuela, the PPP is the last party on the face of this earth to talk about patriotism. When it's the PPP under Barra Jack Deere, look, Jack Deere made concession to Venezuela Jack Deere. Jack Deere was telling people, Guyanese people, that he and his party, the PPP, were willing and ready to make concession to Venezuela. Over to you, Wayne.
You know, Mark, I'm going to touch on Jack Deere in 1 second, but I'm not finished with Dr. Richard Van West-Charles. No, I'm just not done with him as yet. Now, in that recording that you would have played, my friend, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali. Now, first of all, where did the doctor came from? Right? His friend also had 19 fraud charges against him. His friend also graduated from the University of IFLAT, a university that none of us know of, okay? And he graduated as the what? Not valedictorian, the valedictorian. okay, amongst so many other things. His friend oppresses Afro-Guyanese and Guyanese that does not support the PPPC. So what is Dr. Richard Van West Charles really talking about? You know, he needs to go back, look himself in the mirror and examine himself and come again. You know, and I tell you, Mark, anytime you bring him on this platform again, I would like to be on the show.
So, well,
I would like to be on the show.
He's definitely persona non grata. But back to this here, this treasonous act by Jack Dale and the PPP wanting to grant Venezuela a piece of Guyana. Let's touch on this, please.
Okay, so Mark, listen, these things are going to happen. Why? Because for 23 years, Barry Jack Dios went unchecked. He's being checked now. And you notice how nervous and concerned he is. Because he recognized now, you know, that people are coming out the woodworks now that is smarter than he is. Because he's not smart. Okay? He's a financial dunce. He's a political dunce. And I say this loosely because this guy, to go and say that he, you understand me, is going to share what belongs to Guyana with Venezuela without even consulting an opposition, without even consulting the people. And why are we giving away our country? Who the heck is the Venezuelans? They need to stay on their side, you know, and stay in their place. And that is what we need to be letting them know. There's no negotiation. We went to court on this already, Mark. The court has already ruled in our favor. This is over. There's no space in negotiation here.
You know, this, of course, this is treasonous. And Jack Dale should have been tried. He should have been charged for treason, should have been tried, should have been convicted, and hang him the very next day, right in the middle of Can Street. This is treasonous. But yet these are the guys who are coming now, Irfan Ali and this vagabond, both of them are vagabonds, jumping up and now want the opposition support. Oh, I spoke to the opposition leader about this and we are together. No, we're not together because the PPP wants to sell Essequibo out to the Venezuelan. Why do you think they now have Spanish? You have issues with your Spanish neighbor. And yet you're going to want to put Spanish and Policia and Spanish here and Spanish there. For what? Like, was it Paul Slow who said it is treasonous? That is what it is. This guy should have been hanged by his toes. I don't, look, you guys already know how I feel about these people, but over to you, Mr. Caesar.
Mark, you know, you're making some very, very good points. And listen, Irfan Ali and these other guys in the PPPC think they got a beat on Barra Jagdio. The person you are showing right now in this photo is a very sinister individual. Okay, this person can be working behind the scenes with Maduro, you understand me, and giving him intelligence as to how you could have the influx of Venezuelans coming into Guyana, populate Essequibo or a large portion of Essequibo, and then just take it over. So, Mark, we got to keep our eyes open when it comes down to Barra Jagdio. As long as his eyes are open, we have to keep all our eyes have to be on him.
These guys,
and to make sure that we keep this guy in check.
These guys are not leaders. They're not leaders at all. They have never been leaders. They don't know what it is to be a leader. They are flat-foot hustlers. They are scamps. They're crooks. They're criminals. This guy is a criminal right there. Jagdio is a criminal. He should have been tried in the world court for hundreds of people who were slaughtered during his reign. Yet he wants to sell. He wants to give a peace, offer concession. He's always about giving peace, somebody a peace. If it's not him, he's giving away the country. Look at what he promised the Venezuelans. Concession. Who does that? Who does that? He should have been tried, hung, and that's it. Put him somewhere in the ripping tear after. Treasonous. That is what it is. Shameful.
You know, Mark, it's not too late, for him to be tried on something like this. It is not too late. It is not too late. I don't think the statutes of limitations really, expires on issues like this. This is ridiculous. You want to know what side of the bed this guy got upon when he would put out such statements, and try to set such negotiation without even consulting the people. Guyana, Mark, this guy feels as if he owns Guyana, and he feels as if he owns the people of Guyana. And that's what I got a problem with. You can't own people, and you don't own them. And you're going to see that you don't own them come 2025 when they vote you and your cabal out. Over to you, Mark.
Well, they rigged the 2020 elections. They rigged it. That is exactly what happened. They rigged the elections. They're fraudsters. They're gangsters. They're riggers. Why do you think they fought tooth and nail to ensure that the elections petitions weren't heard? They were afraid, and they are still afraid of the elections petitions because they know what they did. Why do you think that they're no longer talking about SOPs? The SOPs was just basically, a front to disguise their corruption. SOPs. They don't care about SOPs. Their SOPs were fraudulent. They are past masters of rigging elections, and they rigged the 2020 general and regional elections. They are riggers. They are not just riggers. They are notorious riggers. That is who they are. The PPP, Jack Dale and his criminal gang. Over to you, sir.
Good. Mark, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you brought up the 2020 elections. Listen, the 2020 elections was not rigged at GCOM. It was rigged at the place of poll. Okay? That's where the rigging took place. Then ultimately everything was transferred. Everything has to go to GCOM for the decision to be made. And Mark, I say this to the opposition. Let's start pulling in our scrutineers very early. We have to vet them from head to toe. Let's start pulling in our polling agents early. You have to make sure that these people are authentic and you have the right people in place. And when I talk about scrutineers, I'm not talking about the very top where we have people like Miss Carol Joseph, and these people are exempt. They've been there, done that. It's the people who are these places of polls, who are going to bathroom, who saying they're hungry and walking out and all these things while the PPPC is rigging away or taking pay. That is what happened in 2020. That is what happened, and we cannot afford for it to happen again. And Mark, I'm not just saying this because I want to say, I spoke to somebody from GCOM. I spoke to an individual from GCOM who would have told me exactly how this thing occurred. So we need to get going. We have 3 commissioners, Mark.
We saw exactly how this occurred right there at the recount process. We saw 61 dead voters, 4,864 absent voters, 150 stuffed ballot boxes, 47 ballot boxes without documents, 1,278 missing oaths of identity, and yet the PPP Pacoos love to jump and say about PNC or AFC and APNU, they rigged the 2020 elections. Look who rigged the elections. You were saying about 3 commissioners, sir, opposition commissioners at GCOM.
Yes. Mark, they need to make their voices heard. They need to start executing in their duties. I don't care, who would have done this in the past and all this stuff, all the credibility. I don't care about that. When you have a job, you have to execute daily, Mark. Not every 3 months you come with something. That's not working. When we work every day. We got to understand this. And when we work, we're not working for ourselves. We're working for the people of Guyana here who would have been disenfranchised in 2020. And it's not going to happen again in 2025. If you know that you cannot execute your duties, then remove yourself. Period. Over to you, Mark.
Yes, we notice Desiree Simons is saying here, and good night to you, Miss Simons. Jagdeo is who Jagdeo is. I can just imagine with a Guyanese accent. Jagdeo is who Jagdeo is. It is a responsibility of citizens to know which politicians or politician is working in their best interest or their own personal gain and vote accordingly. Jagdeo, well, the people got to stop voting out of emotions in Guyana. Blind emotions and blind loyalty. You know who those politicians are. I agree with Miss Simon's comment. I also agree with, there was another comment, I think it was Blair who made a comment. Yeah, sorry. So, Mr. Barnwell. So we've got to know who our politicians are. We know who our politicians are. We know who the snakes are. Sometimes these snakes are looking at us. I think is Brundari is just hitting out here tonight. Yeah, but we know who these sellouts are. We know what they're about. Some of them don't even do anything in Guyana, but they love to dress up and come foreign to pretend as though they are defending the people's interest back in Guyana. But that's another issue for another day, another time. It's 5 minutes after 10 o'clock. We've got to go, though. Mr. Caesar, you were saying something.
No, I don't think I said anything.
Oh, you okay? So
listen, I want to say, yeah, I want to say one thing, and this is concerning the leader of the opposition. Look, we have a leader of the opposition right now that is in place. We have a Congress that is coming up. Okay, and this is only my opinion. Okay, in my opinion, you have to be consistent to a point here. I don't feel that the leader of the opposition has been fully supported by the party. Okay, and it is of my view that he stays in place until he gets, a full chance where everyone is behind him and everyone is on one accord. I noticed that everybody want to play this politics game in factions. We cannot play this game in factions, Mark, when we are fighting against
we cannot play the game of what? Sorry?
We cannot play this game in factions, meaning different groups coming together. We need to be one group.
Yeah.
Okay? Because listen, the adversary is a cabal that has been stealing from the Guyanese people all the time. Okay? And you know something with thieves, they hunt, as a group, and they're always like this, Mark. All right? Remember we talk about birds of a feather? They do flock together, very closely together, and they keep their business to themselves. I want the opposition to start learning to do that. And Mark, you did hit on it. There are a few snakes still in the party to rear their heads. They need to get in there and they need to dig those snakes out to the earth and throw those snakes on the road. Okay? Because the party needs to move forward. The party needs to start showing great strength. Okay? Our strength is not going to come financially. Okay? It's going to come from the work on the ground and getting the backing of the people. So I want everybody to rally behind the leader of the opposition. Give him a chance. Give him a chance, because you're changing every minute. You're not consistent. people are not going to take you serious. You got to be serious in this game. This is politics. Over to you, Mark.
All right, as we look to wrap up this evening's program, you know, I like fighters, real political fighters. I like brave people, people who would give it all, regardless of what, in a struggle for the people. Unfortunately, majority of the politicians, especially forget about those Pakus in the PPP, but a majority of them in the opposition seem to be softies. They don't like the struggle. They're afraid to protest. Some of them will tell you point blank, they ain't getting locked up. I don't want to support people who are afraid to get locked up for what is right, for standing up for the people. You know what an honor and a joy that is to be sitting in Brickdam lockups, knowing that you stood up for your people, or to be sitting in Camp Street Prison, knowing that you have given it all for your people in a struggle. But these days you have nice boys, soft boys, and soft girls who just, some of them just want to dress up and just snap a couple selfies and go on social media and these sort of things. And when you call a protest in Guyana, they don't show up. They hardly show up. They find excuses not to show up. But you call a protest, you call a function overseas. See how many of them want to rush overseas? Oh my gosh, I'm here to talk about my country and what's going on. Again, I'm not knocking anybody. These things are all necessary. But I also want, when these very politicians who like to dress up in their best this Sunday suits and their shoes and their sock, what is it? People still wear stockings, and come abroad and talk about all these things, and this is what's happening to Guyana, and this is what's happening to the Guyanese people, and this is what, and then when they go back to Guyana, they're gone in the shell, they're gone in the hole. You don't see them, you don't hear from them. They gone back at the salon, they gone back at the barber shop, they gone back at the rum shop, they gone back at the carnapian. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be saying that at all. All manner of things. They don't represent the people's interest. If you don't represent the people's interest, how can you go and talk about the people's plight, the people's concerns? I don't know. Maybe it's time for me to retire, man. Just sit down in my rocking chair and enjoy my life with my grandkids. You know, it's ridiculous. Some of them in the opposition who are buying land, selling land to the friends of 1 point something million US. They want people to scratch out name and put out in all manner of things, man. Look, I don't know.
Mark, we just...
There's so much. Go ahead, Mr. Caesar. Go ahead, sir.
Mark,
I know we just wrap up. Go ahead.
We just need some real people-centric politicians, man. Like I said, I don't like when business people meddle with politics. We just want some good career politicians. A lot of these politicians in Guyana is not career. Now, Aubrey Norton is one that I can single out and say that is a career politician. He is one that I can single out. You know, politics is his game. And I need to see more like Mr. Norton.
Well, he spent a lot of years lecturing at the university. He had another job. He's now opposition leader. And he surely doesn't have another job other than opposition leader. But what a lot of people don't understand is that these members of parliament in the opposition, they have other jobs, but they pay more interest to their other jobs than they do as an MP. They believe, Mr. Caesar, that an MP job is doing a favor to the people. What time you want me to come to your community? All right, I can see if I get time. So they treat their other job, or they're afraid that if they go on a protest line, somebody from the other job is going to see them and it's going to affect them and they're going to lose that other job. That is what's going on. They're afraid to protest. They don't want to protest, but yet they jump in the Sunday suit and they gone overseas, said they're talking about the plight of the people in Guyana. If I were one of those guys, I would say, what are you doing? You hardly see these people. You hardly see them at protests. You hardly see them at any press conferences. You hardly see them opening their mouth about anything. Look, some of these people I'm sick and tired. Not all of them, mind you. There are some fighters, some few. But the bulk of them seem to be hustlers, man. Flatfoot hustlers. Mr. Caesar, anything else before we go, sir? Go ahead.
Well, Mark, I was gonna say to you, you cannot be an MP representing people, you understand me, without a fight, without protest. There's gonna always be protests of some nature. There's gonna always be protests of some nature. That's how you get things done. That's how you show government that you do not agree with their tactics. You know, you can't just go into parliament like my honorable friend, Mr. Ricky Ramsaroop would have said, address everything in parliament. That ain't no parliament.
That's not how he said it.
That's just a house that is being
address everything in parliament. Address everything in parliament. These guys don't believe in protesting. They don't believe in this. They don't believe in that. But they believe in taking a nice selfie. And these are the things right now. The biggest thing for them is they're out the country talking up. But I want them, and the people of Guyana want them to talk when they're back in Guyana. Go talk when they're back in Guyana. Go in front and stand with the people. I have far more respect. People like Rhonda Lane should have been in D.C. to talk about the plight, talk about what she's experienced, what people like herself and others are experiencing on a daily basis. Most of these people are gone. They don't experience nothing. They don't experience hardship. They don't put their lives out there. They do nothing for the people. Most of them. Look,
Mark,
I'm out of here.
Mark, no. We can't be out so quick. You got to give me 5 minutes because you want
to. We've got to go.
You hit on DC. You should not have hit on DC.
1 second. We really got to go. So you got about a minute. We got to go.
I got a minute. All right, it might go for a minute. You could grant me that.
Listen,
when we talk about DC, Mark, and I don't want to hit the planners with the whole DC thing. I think they did.
No, this is not about hitting the planners.
I know. But I'm telling you what I would have liked to see. Okay, when we want to talk about what's really occurring in Guyana, I would have liked to see present at that conference the parents of Courtney Crum Ewing, the wife of Orrin Boston, Quindon Bacchus' father, Julius Bacchus, and Quindon's mother. You know, Ronald Waddell's son should have been there. You know, amongst many others. That's how we really show what would have occurred. You understand me? In Guyana, because listen, we're not going to just go and talk about the last 3 years. The last 3 years is not enough. We have to show the whole body of work of this criminal organization that they would have installed in Guyana. We have to show the body of work. So that's my only issue. I have no other issue.
And you are correct, Mr. Caesar. And Brenda, this is being constructive. Nobody's knocking anybody. Nobody's knocking DC. We think DC is part of the struggle. Those things are necessary, and I've said that. But my only contention is the people who, most of them, not all of them, who have gone there, those MPs, hardly do anything in Guyana. Some of them may tell you otherwise, but they hardly do anything in Guyana. They talk up more when they're outside of Guyana, and then when they return to Guyana, they're very quiet on almost every issue. Mr. Caesar touched on a valid point, but were I part of the organizer, I'm not an organizer, people think it's okay. But even if family members of, let us say, Quindon Bacchus or the wife of Orrin Boston and so forth, and the Henry cousins that were slaughtered, you could have been able to make some short video clips to show it right there on a big screen so that the Black Caucus folks can see and hear the struggles, what people have to go through, people who are being persecuted. Let them see on the big screen so that they can see and hear directly from the people who are affected. And that to me would have had such an impact. It would have been able to send that strong message because you would have been hearing the pains of those family members crying out for justice. not most of them who are there to talk about what's happening in Guyana. And then when they're in Guyana, they do absolutely nothing. That is what I'm talking about. But thanks to people like Rhonda Lane and others. Mr. Caesar, you asked for 5 minutes. You got 3 minutes earlier. You get another 1 minute.
Okay. Well, Mark, since you wanted to make a short video, then we might as well go into that video also, and we can add the bulldozing at Mocha, the burial of the people livestock alive, the bulldozing at Hillfoot. You know, there's so many atrocities across Guyana by this installed regime.
Somebody's saying here, Francine Cruz. First of all, let's correct Francine Cruz. Look how Francine Cruz spelling your name.
That's okay. That's okay, Francine. I'll give you a pass on that.
Caesar. Well, we give Francine, and good evening to other folks there at Long Island Nursing Home. Good evening to Francine. Address Francine. Francine is saying, how come I've never seen you, Caesar, in any protest? Over to you, Caesar.
Okay. Well, Francine, look, first thing, I am in the States. That's number one. Number two, I am a public accountant, and this is a very extremely busy time for me. So I cannot travel and go anywhere at the moment.
Francine is just being too mischievous.
To the extent we have protests coming up in Brooklyn, and I was at the Aubrey North meeting the other day, right, Mark? So look. And the PPP
you were out, not just the meeting, you were outside when the PPP guys were chased.
Correct.
Francine is just being mischievous. Don't worry, Francine.
Miss Cruz, don't worry. You'll see a lot of me, and I'm going to be on the ground in Guyana come 2025. Maybe I'm going to be at a polling station. You don't know, but I just want you to know there's no fear in me when it comes to being on the ground, because I fear no one but the Almighty. I just want to make that clear. No Barra Jack Dio, nobody. You could put me on how you want to put me on your list. I don't care. You can't do me anything. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And to all of you, some points we agree to disagree and so forth. It's the nature of politics. Francine, nothing personal. When I say that you got to spell Mr. Caesar's name correctly, don't be like the others whose bumps raise as quickly as possible. But to all of you, and I hope those who left the country and always love to dress up and come overseas and talk, and then when they go back, they're quiet as a mouse. I hope that they speak up when they go back and they protest when they go back as well. But for now, we've got to go. Mr. Caesar, thank you for your time. And to all of you, thank you so much for your time. And we've just got to give our award here this evening. I don't know, who should we give the award to tonight, Mr. Caesar?
Well, it depends on what the award is.
The award, we have one award that we give out.
Okay.
Here. Who should get that award tonight?
Oh boy, this is a good one. Let's see. All right, I got it. Let's give the award tonight. And listen, Mark, this cannot be a one dose. This has to be a double dose. Dr. Richard Van Westchals gets the award tonight.
Now, let me see if members of the audience agree with Richard Van Westchals getting the award tonight. Let me see if they agree with that.
I'm 100% sure they will agree with me.
How many of you guys believe that Richard Van Westchals should get the award tonight? Before we go, we see Rhonda Lane say yes, Trisha John say yes, Barbara say yes. Oh man, look at the yes! Look at the yes! Come on, guys, let's see how many of you agree that we take it to a vote. We believe in the democracy. We're taking it to a vote. Look at all the yes. Oh, yes. All right. So the award goes to, let's see how many more folks are agreeing. Everybody, gosh. Wow. Van West is in trouble. I don't know who he's going to represent in Venezuela, but
yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we hand this award, this straight up award, to Dr. Richard Van Westchals for selling out the people of the PNC, selling out the people of the coalition for his own personal gains. Not about country, not about patriotism. You deserve this award. Richard Van Westchals, come forward, please. All right, Mr. Caesar, thank you so much again, as always, for your time. And let me just congratulate you on your inaugural program. Over to you. That's every Saturday from 5 p.m. right here on 107.1 FM. Next Saturday, tune in. You will hear the man himself on his own show. I don't know when he's going to invite me on his own show. He's always on this show. But I'm not begging for an invitation. Invite others. God bless you. But thank you so much for what you do too as well. Don't worry with Francine, but we don't see Francine in protest though. When last you see Francine in protest? We don't even know. We don't even know if Francine likes to protest. But they want to come here and tell people who got protest and who ain't got protest. But yet Francine, if you don't protest, I'm a protester, professional protester. I can tell people that they don't protest. But Francine, you don't get that right to do that. Because I know Francine. Francine doesn't protest. Mr. Caesar, thank you so much again, sir. And to all of our listeners, every single one of you. God bless you. And we will see you guys back tomorrow. Same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM. On Friday evening, we have Hamilton Green with us. Mr. Hamilton Green will be on 107.1 FM. Take care, guys. So long.
Good night, Mark. Good night, everyone.
This is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness. Aye, who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benscop, who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benscop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benscop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop.